right, so getting into the actual days now. This is going to be a two-part thing. One, I'm just going to go over what I've liked about this day, things that I would change if there are any, and then how does this fit into the categorization system that I just laid out before with the high-low stuff. First and foremost, like my own experience with Monday, after week one, the biggest change that I saw I needed to make was removing the tempoed hinge from that day. Not because the hinge itself was too much. It was really because I had the Olympic lift in the wrong place. I had the Olympic lift on Friday, and doing that at the end of the week isn't necessarily a bad thing, but with the way that I had it set up, essentially you went from an entire week's worth of work that included a lot of sprinting to asking you to do an Olympic lift, which is a very high stress, right? So once I did 1 week with that structure, I was like, this needs to change. So I moved the Olympic lift to Monday and the tempoed hinge to Friday, and that has fixed a lot of the issues that I felt in the first week. But other than that, I really liked Monday because I never loathed coming into doing it. Sometimes in a training program, Monday, you're like, oh shit, here we go again. Another week, I got to hit this Monday. This was like just enough work to work the weekend out of me, if you will, but it wasn't so much work that I felt extremely fatigued going into Tuesday, which is our shorter sprint acceleration focus day. So now getting into sort of the categorization of the stresses on this day, you'll see there's a lot of low stuff, and I want to explain this a little bit more. Low doesn't mean that I'm not working. Low does not mean that it is a, quote, easy, low effort day. A lot of these low things that fit into this categorization, they're hard. Like, the effort is still hard, but we're talking about the global response, the neural response to these activities. Something can be hard, but not neurally taxing. They're not one and the same, right? So just because it's low doesn't mean that there's no challenge or adaptation to be had there. So with the warm-up, I mentioned this before a few weeks ago when I started this series, that we always start with some kind of deep tier jump or hop. We'll do some type of crawl, we'll do some type of spine movement, whether that's flexing, extending, twisting, laterally flexing side to side. And then we'll do some type of mobility, whether it be upper body or lower body, or a like flow type of movement. Into the AD just means athletic development. It's where we put a lot of our jump, sprint, throw work. On Monday, you'll see just deep tier hops and jumps. So the warm-up and the athletic development are all considered low, right? You have basically like prehab, right, and correctives in here for the warm-up, and then we have more deep tier hops. The reason that deep tier jumping and hopping isn't necessarily categorized as high is because the intent is not maximal height or maximal distance. The intent of these deep tier exercises is to be as smoothed and relaxed through a full range of motion, putting in just enough effort to get slightly off the ground, right? Whenever we're doing deep tier jumps, it's not about how high or how far I can go. It's about, can I smoothly accept a landing velocity, allow my body to passively absorb that and rebound it back up with me putting in as little effort as possible. So it requires a lot of focus to get your body to give in to the rhythm and the flow of these jumps, and that is the challenge of them. Moving into the lift, on that Monday with the Olympic lift, that is the only high thing that we're doing in terms of our neural stress, right? But even into this first month, this has been a complex. So it's been a lot of more tempo-based stuff. It's not a maximal Olympic lift. It is definitely sub-maximal because of the fact that it's in a complex. It's not just a pure snatch, clean, or clean and jerk. So that's the only high thing today. And then Monday, and then following the rest of the lift, we have a tempo split squat. So like we said, tempo work is categorized as a low stress, and we have quad and hamstring accessories using the machines to just get some hypertrophy and local muscular endurance through some higher reps there. But yeah, so all in all, I would categorize Monday, right, if you will. You could basically categorize that as a, quote, low day. And what that leads to when we go into Tuesday, you'll see exactly why I set it up this way, because Tuesday is our acceleration day. So I still want to do some kind of work, right? But because we have our lower body day before it, it works out really well. and in my experience didn't end up gassing me for that acceleration work. I've still been able to PR week to week. I've still been able to feel faster, and I have felt more ready each week to attack that day, even though I am doing a quote lower body day on this Monday.